Hello and welcome back to Vibe 107.6 FM's Hornet Heroes YouTube series, the third episode today. And I'm delighted to be joined all the way across the pond by Jordan Stewart. Jordan, thank you for joining me today. You're an absolute legend and really appreciate the time you've taken out of your schedule.
No worries, no worries.
You played for Watford, Leicester, Derby, Sheffield United in the MLS. When reflecting back on your time at Watford, how do you kind of reflect on it as a whole?
For me, it was how I even got to Watford was kind of like a strange one, because I had like a year left at Leicester City, and I remember I was at home in the summer and received a phone call of Aidy Boothroyd, and at the time didn't really know much about him, and he's like, "Our Leicester's accepted the offer from us." And I was like, "No one's told me." so spoke to my agent, spoke to Leicester, and Leicester said, "Yeah, we did agree to a deal." So I went to see Aidy, who lived in Bromsgrove at the time, and I was living in Birmingham. Went over to see him, and just the way he was talking about, he just wanted to be attacking. Basically said if they score 4, we're going to score 5. So from then, and at the time I was playing left back, so he just wanted me to. He said, "I want you to keep bumming on." So I was like, "Why not?" And then went there, and I think we was one of the favourites to go down that season. And then obviously, you know the rest. We had a great season, for me, it was probably one of the best seasons for me in terms of obviously achievement we made, and also probably the first time I really had like that man-manager bond where I was old enough to kind of have a conversation with managers, because normally when you're younger, you don't really have a chance to speak to managers, and they don't want to speak to you either, right? And it's kind of the first time I felt like I had a relationship with a manager that I could kind of go and talk to him about other topics, whether it was about football or just other stuff in general. So that season as a whole was kind of, for me, probably top 1 or top 2 in my career, in terms of just the achievement we made on the back of what everyone thought that was going to happen. But then also just our squad was, as in like a team bonding, it was probably one of the best for me. Every day was like everyone was having banter, and it was just like nonstop. Like, I don't think anyone came into work like thinking like down. You know what I mean? It was just for us. It was just like going in, having a laugh, and just everyone was just grinding for each other. You know, I seen Dan Shitu posted like a post on his Insta story the other day, and it was one of his speeches before one of our games, and it was basically like saying if whoever's playing, whether like you're starting or whether you're not, like everyone's still part of the team, which it was that kind of like atmosphere. So that first season for me was like probably one of the best for sure.
Was it that atmosphere that helped Aidy mastermind the promotion? How did he do it? I mean, Jayden Merritt said he had that special spark that no other manager, maybe apart from Brendan Rodgers, he's worked under had.
I think his philosophy was totally different, especially in that first season. He would break games. Well, he'd break the fixture list into 6 games, and it was all about accountability. So he said, "Okay, these 6 games, how many points are you gonna get?" So we'd say a number, and then he'd be like, "Okay, if you hit that target, I don't know, the first 6 games were like, okay, we got like a PlayStation and like a TV in the in the players' lounge or something like that." And then
got one each.
no, I wish. And then it was always kind of like hitting goals, hitting milestones, and we got to a stage where we were saying, "Okay, if we win these 6 games, we get a trip to Dubai." And I remember we did end up winning. I think we won Coventry like 3-0 away, and Marlon King's celebration was like pretending to be on like a deck chair. So I just think his philosophy, and on a Monday when we'd have like debrief about the games on Saturday, we'd all sit down, watch the clips from the weekend, and then everyone's name was on like those big pieces of paper, and it'd be like what they did well, what they could have done better. And basically everyone went around to each other's piece of paper and wrote what they did well, and then you'd go to your own board and kind of like talk what you did well and what you didn't do well. So there's accountability, and it was kind of like out in the open. So like everyone was writing stuff about you, but you knew that's what it was. And I think that bond, and that was the only time and every time I've experienced something like that where it was so open and accountability was so in your face. And then also we hired like Keith Mincher, who was like kind of like the club's psychologist, and people would go to him, see him 1v1s, and then he was just there, and he'd always kind of like say little things on the sideline when you're training and that. So for me, it was like a great season. It was one of the best, because just everything that was there at the time was working, and everything was just like. So yeah, for me.
Yeah, he sounds like he really cared about Watford. He really cared about his players. And Jay Demerit said he used to just put an arm around you and take you around the training field after a game. And then Brendan Rodgers came in after the Premier League season. And he's, as a Leicester legend as well yourself, he's gone on and done remarkable things with Celtic, Liverpool, and Leicester. Did you see that coming when working under Brendan?
Well, I wasn't there when Brendan was there, because I was there for the 3 years that Aidy was there, and then I left because me and Aidy was trying to negotiate a deal, right. And then it was going back and forth, and it was like, I said, let's just concentrate on the season, and then we can kind of like figure that out at the end. And then I think in January they signed Matt Sadler, the left back, and I think he come from Blues. So then he started playing me, and I was like, Aidy, like, what's going on? He's like, well, I gotta start creating for the future, you know, of like Watford. And I was like, well, if you're not playing me just on merit, you're just playing this guy because you think he's going to be here longer than me, or he signed a contract, then it's probably not going to work out the best. So then in the end, I ended up leaving her. I think I left in like April of the last season, and that's when I ultimately signed for Derby County on the free transfer. But yeah, for me, the time, Aidy, like the first season was the best, and then I think the second season when we went to the Premier, he tried to kind of like change his philosophy a bit, and I think that kind of cost us in a way where it's like playing long ball too much. And like sometimes in the Championship it can work. We had like Hendo and like Marlon King and Ashley Young, like McNamee, Hemo Boatsa, those type of players. But then, like, you know what the Prem's like, it's a different beast. So I thought we had to change the way we played, because people just knew what he was going to do and just kind of just sat back. And we wasn't creating, we wasn't kind of drawing them out as a team. So for me, it kind of like got a bit sour towards the end. Just with like just tactics and that, and obviously we went down, you see that. And then the next season we started flying, and then just ultimately I don't know, it just didn't work out.
You scored that great goal against Wolves, the rocket free kick. Is that your favourite memory in a Watford shirt, or was it the promotion to the Premier League?
Nah, it's definitely the promotion. For me, it's just that season, the promotion, and like going into that playoff final game against Leeds, and still being underdogs. Everyone think Leeds are just going to trance us, you know what I mean, and like win convincingly. But even in the tunnel, when like we'd always, every game, before the game, we'd watch like a bunch of clips of everyone, whether it's like tackling or scoring goals. So we had that like confidence boost, and then we get in the change room, and then Aidy and Keith had put like little clips of like the Gladiator, Any Given Sunday, all these like motivational like videos. So it was all there, like, so it was all, before the game started, we was amped, and then we'd get into the tunnel, and before every game, Aidy always says you can win the game in the tunnel, like before the game's even started. So we'd be in the tunnel like shouting, like Dan Shute would have his top off, like just walking up and down the tunnel. And we'd just be saying, it's work time, let's go, guys. So by the time we go out, the team either thought it were these guys, or they was like, okay, these guys are on it. And we just from the start, we just kind of just be energy, and we just be in people's faces. And I think that bode us well for the whole season, because ultimately we did get promoted, and we like the final was convincing, you know what I mean? He wasn't even close.
No, it was an incredible final, an incredible game, and some brilliant memories for Watford fans. And the manager this year, very different to Aidy Boothroyd, Vladimir Ivic. The Watford side at the moment, pretty high flying, only a few points away from the top spot. Can they get promoted this year? At the time of recording, if they beat Bristol City tonight, they're a point off the top.
it's always the championship's always hard, especially living over the pond. It's frustrating because you don't get to see many of the games, you know.
Yeah.
But for me, the championship's probably one of the hardest leagues in the world, just for the demand of the amount of games. Like it's like Saturday, Tuesday, and if you make a run of like 6 wins, you almost, even if you're like mid-table or like close to the bottom, you can be there in a mix there and thereabouts. So it's super volatile, and I think if you can kind of stay in touch of the playoffs in the top 6, and then come around Christmas time, start putting a run together, you're always going to be in the mix. You always probably normally have one team that kind of like just keep going and just like, but even then you see at some stage, you know, that they're going to go on a losing streak, whether it's 3 or 4 games. But by then, everyone else is, you know what I mean? So
Yeah,
it's
sure.
like a stock exchange. So it's always changing. But for me, you've always got a chance. Like I said, if you're thereabouts, you've always got the possibility of getting promoted. But it's so volatile. And for me, it's too early to say. But fingers crossed, because you know what I mean. I'd love to see him back in the Prem.
But we all keep our
I'll be able to watch him more.
exactly. We all keep our fingers crossed. And in 2013, you moved out to the States to San Jose Earthquakes. What was that transition like from English football to the MLS and soccer?
For me, I'd always wanted to end my career in America. I'd always said it from the time I turned 21. I was always coming to America, especially California, for my summer holidays. So it'd always be a passion of mine to come out here. And I got the chance through Darren Huckabee, who used to play out here at San Jose. And then he put me in touch with Frank Yallop, who was the manager at the time. And then I remember 2012, I came out just in the summer, just to have a look. And I trained with them during the summer. I was like, keep fit and get to enjoy the California sunshine, right?
Exactly. Why not?
Yeah. So I came out here, and then he tried to sign me that year. Just couldn't agree personal terms. And then the year after, Mark Watson became the coach, and he signed me that year. But for me, I'd say the 2 biggest differences, one, in the MLS, it seems more, it's just back and forward. Like tactics aren't as honed in as maybe in Europe. I think it's getting better now with the influx of more ideology of kind of just how to do the game. Because if you look in America, it's kind of, you have like NFL, NBA, baseball, hockey, and then soccer. So even though it's the biggest game played as kids, when it comes to like going to college and coming into the MLS, it just kind of it filters out. So I think as time goes by, it's going to get better and better. And then the second biggest change, I think, would be the fans. It's almost like that family, even though like Watford's that family environment, atmosphere, you knew if you lose or you lost a game, like
They're angry. Yeah.
They're angry, which is normal, right? Whereas when I remember we lost a couple of games on the bounce, and like the fans are still like saying, "Oh, well done," and all that. So, and I think that you see that from a lot of players that have played in England, Europe, come over here, and then they like the atmosphere, because it's
a bit more relaxed.
Even if they lose, even if they lose, they can still go out for dinner with their family, or you know what I mean. Whereas in England, even on a Thursday, I used to be, and not so much because Instagram and that wasn't around, but I wouldn't really want to go out. Say if I was in Watford, I wouldn't want to go out for someone's dinner or something on a Thursday in case fans see me. And then Saturday, it was like, well, you lost because you was out celebrating a birthday on Thursday, which is obviously doesn't make sense, but that's just how people think, right? So for me, I think those are the biggest things. The MLS is going to grow, but it's just going to take time for sure.
And finally, I know you're massively into your boxing, and boxing is still massive over in America. So our local boy in Watford's Anthony Joshua. He's got Pulev on the 12th of December, and then maybe Tyson Fury. Do you think Joshua can go all the way next year and beat Fury?
I don't know. I think all the fans want to see it, right? they want to see it. Everyone's got their fingers crossed to see it, because for me, that's going to be the biggest fight. And obviously, financially for both of them, it might be, I don't know, after that, it might be just, you know what I mean? Just, okay, that's it, or maybe go for a part 2. But for me, I think everyone wants to see it. And obviously boxing, I've got my dozen boxing. That's part of the company I'm working with now. So yeah, boxing's always in the limelight now rather than soccer. So I'll definitely be watching. But fingers crossed that fight goes underway. And for me, they're both legends. They're both even what they do after out of the ring, right? There's stuff with the community and like Tyson Fury, like mental health and that kind of stuff. So for me, they're both big characters and both provide a lot of entertainment on and off the field. So not on and off. See, I'm saying field. In and out of the ring. In and out of the ring.
There you go. Well, Jordan, thank you so much for joining us today on the Hornets Heroes YouTube series. Is really appreciated, and you're an absolute legend. So stay safe out there in the US and keep on supporting the Golden Boys.
No problems. Thanks for having me.